Call to order the meeting of the Court Reporters Board of California. It is Thursday, May 21st, 2020, 9 a.m. Pursuant to the provisions of Governor Gavin Newsom's executive order N-2920, dated March 17th, 2020, a physical meeting location is not being provided. This meeting, and it's a public meeting, is being held in the teleconference platform. Ms. Bruning, could you please conduct the roll call so we can establish a quorum?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair Hurt. Ms. Hurt, present.
Present.
Ms. O'Neill.
Present.
Ms. Lisinski.
Present.
Ms. Nocella. Ms. Nocella, would you please unmute yourself? Ms. Sunkis.
Present.
Quorum reached.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. We also have in attendance supporting the board, Yvonne Finner, our executive director, the board attorney, Rebecca Bonds, Danny Rogers, our regulations attorney, Tricia St. Clair will be our lead moderator, Elizabeth Cornell will be our co-moderator, and Bryce Pinney, the television specialist for webcasts. So I'd like to thank the public for bearing with us and joining in on our very first telecommuting meeting. We truly value public involvement and exchange. We're here to do the business of the board. That really needs to continue on. So we wanted to hear from all of you, and we provided this platform to do so. I know it's going to be a little challenging to not see the board, staff, and public, but I want to assure everyone that we truly do care about your input, and we're listening very carefully to do what's right for California consumers. I have a few meeting reminders, in particular for public comment. It is welcome but not required that speakers identify themselves during the public comment period. As this is a board meeting to conduct board business, the board is asking the members of the public to make comments within the 2 minutes. A 30-second warning will be issued before we move on to the next speaker. Because this is a teleconference meeting in the DCA WebEx platform, we are unable to know the public comments and how many there are of you in the queue. So to adjust time like I normally do, I'm unable to do so. So what I expect is that if you have more comments to make after the 2 minutes, please return to the queue. If you've already heard your comment expressed, you can just quickly state that you agree to the prior or specific comment in short. So again, if you have more to say after your 2 minutes, you can return to the queue, and hopefully we can get to everyone. We want to hear from everyone. So I'd like to just do one quick reminder with board members. Please keep your mic on mute when you're not speaking. I'll call on you by the use of the raise hand function.
Should I interrupt and ask for Carrie?
Please lower your hand. I think someone now has their mic on. Great. Okay, so we have a really full agenda. Please don't hesitate to let me know if you need a comfort break or you need to slow the pace for better understanding. We're set to break for a short lunch and a few short breaks. So again, I want to thank DCA staff and our fellow board members for setting up this teleconference and participating in this manner. All right, so our first agenda is agenda item number 1. This is the introduction of our new board member, Robin Sunkis. We are excited to have another licensee. I'll share some quick highlights. She has been official court reporter since 1986. She is currently working for the San Diego County Superior Court for the past 29 years. She also has experience in freelance reporting. She has a long history of involvement in local, state, and national associations as a member, leader, and mentor. She's also the past president of CCRA, and she has chaired the National Committee of State Associations for NCRA. The list goes on and on. She brings a wealth of expertise to the board. Her full bio is pretty amazing, and I welcome everybody to find it on our website. We are so delighted that you have stepped up and you're committed with all of us in the mission of consumer protection and court reporting. Welcome, Board Member Sunkees. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I look forward to working with the board, working on the board, and it's interesting times. I'm glad to we're finally having a meeting. So
Yes.
we have a full agenda, so I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is an interesting time for sure. And a lot of exciting but difficult things happening in our field right now. Are there any public comments?
This is the moderator. At the direction of the board, I will open the Q&A panel. All right, I have opened up the Q&A panel. If you would like to make a public comment, please click on the icon with a question mark within a square located at the bottom center of your screen. We are sharing instructions for your reference. In the Ask field, typically in the lower right of the WebEx screen, type, "I would like to make a public comment," and send it to all panelists. Any other communication will not be responded to. It is not necessary to identify yourself in order to make public comment. We will take public comments in the order they are received. Please note the Q&A feature is only being used as a means for the members of the public to represent that they would like to make a verbal comment. Once unmuted, the member of the public may verbally state their comment. This is not a means to ask questions of the moderator or members of the board. Such inquiries submitted using this feature will not be answered. I will now pause a moment to give the public time to access the Q&A feature and to submit their requests.
Thank you very much for the explanation on how to participate. I do see two questions. Our first question is by Ms. Kimberly Dorso, I believe. Yes.
This is the moderator. Hold on, and I will unmute Ms. Kimberly Dorsal.
Welcome.
Yes.
Kimberly.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to welcome Council Member Sunkees.
Thank you. Next public comment. I see a Miss Kegel share chart. If I mispronounce your name.
Thank you. This is the moderator, and I am going to unmute her. Just finding her in the list of attendees. In the delay.
Welcome.
All right. Ms. Siegel Shakar.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much. How long do I have for the comment? Is it like 1 or 2 minutes?
You have 2 minutes, and the comment has to relate to agenda item number 1, which is the introduction of the new board member. If it does not, we will take comments related to what you would like to speak on at another agenda item.
Oh, I understand. It's about asking you to put me on your next meeting.
Oh, okay. So in that case, we have public comments not on the agenda, which you will need to make public comments at. If you look at the agenda, that is agenda item number 16. Okay. So these comments are only for and in relation to our new board member, as I don't see any other comments from the public. If I could, moving forward.
Excuse me, just where is the agenda that list that you're speaking of? How do I see that?
You can find it on the website.
Oh, I understand.
Yes, thank you very much.
I just wait around until that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. Would the board like to say anything? If not, we can move on to our next agenda item, number 2, which is the petition for reinstatement of a revoked license. I'd like to welcome the petitioner and the administrative law judge, Heather Rowan. I will now turn this over to our ALJ to run the public hearing. Thank you, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Heather Rowan, Administrative Law Judge. Do we have a court reporter on the line to record this proceeding, or is it is there another method that you're using?
Ms. Finner, would you like to respond to that comment?
We just have an audio recording this morning.
Okay, great. Thank you. So just the overview, and I apologize. I have construction going on behind me, and they are passing by. The noise will not continue, and I'll mute when I'm not speaking.
No problem.
I just want to briefly state, once we go on the record for the hearing, I will request another roll call for the quorum for the hearing, and I'll give an overview of the hearing procedure for both Ms. Wu and the board itself. So, do we have Ms. Miller, Lisa Miller?
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Your Honor and Madam Chair and members of the board.
Good morning. And Ms. Wu?
This is the moderator. I will now unmute Ms. Wu.
Thank you.
Ms. Wu, you've been unmuted.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Ms. Wu. Okay.
Good morning.
So we'll be on the record now in the matter of the petition. We are on the record before the Court Reporters Board of California to review the petition for reinstatement of Valerie Alexis Wu, OAH number 2020-040296. My name is Heather Rowan. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings. I've been assigned to preside over this matter. I'd like to start by calling a quorum, and I'm just going in the order that your names are presented on the website. So if this is out of order, I apologize. Ms. Hurt?
Present.
Ms. Sunkes?
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Lisinski?
Present.
Ms. Nocella?
Present.
And Ms. O'Neill?
Present.
Thank you. There is a quorum for today's meeting. May I take the appearance, please, of the Deputy Attorney General?
Good morning, Deputy Attorney General Lisa Miller, appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California, pursuant to Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. And Ms. Wu, you are present and representing yourself today, is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. So briefly, Ms. Wu, I want to give you an overview of how the board is conducting this matter today. I am presiding over the hearings, which means I will be ruling on evidence and conducting the hearing, but it's the board that's making the final decision. The Deputy Attorney General is appearing on behalf of the Attorney General, not on behalf of the board. The Deputy start by giving a history of your previous matter that led to the revocation of your license.
Okay.
Following that, you'll have the right to make a presentation under oath. I will swear you in, and listen to your evidence regarding why you believe that your license should be reinstated. I have received a letter that you submitted on your behalf, and you're welcome to call witnesses, but I will your testimony will be taken today if you so desire. Following your testimony, I'll allow the Attorney General to ask some questions, and then I'll open it up to questioning with the board.
Okay.
The board today is particularly concerned with your rehabilitation. The board has read the petition packet. There's no need to restate what's in the packet. Following the conclusion of the board's questioning, the board will go into closed session and discuss the matter in closed session. So there will be no decision issued today. That decision will be provided to you sometime in the future, and the timelines for that I'm not exactly clear on because of the executive orders that have been passed, but either the board representative or the deputy attorney general may be able to answer those questions for you.
Okay.
Before we begin, do you have questions?
I do not.
Okay. If questions occur to you as we go, please let me know. I can't give you legal advice, but I can help with the procedure.
Okay, perfect.
Ms. Miller, would you like to
Yes, Your Honor.
open it up with and orient us to the history of this matter?
Yes, Your Honor. If, as a preliminary matter, I may introduce and mark for identification a total of 4 exhibits to be offered into evidence.
Okay, I've received those. I believe the board has them as well.
Yes, Your Honor. And a petitioner has also been provided with a set of the same documents.
Great. The exhibits are marked. Did you want to introduce them first, or did you want to give a statement?
If I may just get the exhibits out of the way, please.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would first like to mark for identification and offer into evidence as Exhibit 1 the original petition application and accompanying documents, which include the accusation and the stipulated surrender agreement.
Okay, so the stipulated the stipulated agreement and the accusation, those are first and then followed by the petition, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Wu, have you had a chance to review the documents that were provided as exhibits in this matter?
Yes, I have.
Do you have any objections to Exhibit 1, which is the accusation, the stipulation, and your application?
I do not.
Okay, Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. As to Exhibit 2, I would please like to mark for identification and offer into evidence as Exhibit 2 the certified arrest and conviction documents pertaining to Riverside Superior Court, case number SWM1805529, and Exhibit 2 begins on page 18 of the exhibit and consists of 17 pages.
And Ms. Wu, you've had a chance to review this document?
I have.
Any objections?
No objections.
What page does this end on, Ms. Miller?
It ends on page 34 of the document.
Okay, I've got it. So my concern with this document is that there, I believe it was this one, it looks as though this needs to be redacted. And there are, if it's a limited number, I can do it. Otherwise, I may ask you to resubmit the exhibits. I'm concerned about victim names, dates of birth. If it looks like the phone numbers are okay, but if there are driver's license numbers, there's a social security number, Actually, I'm just going to ask you to resubmit these. There's quite a bit of information on here, and these are going to be public documents. Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, if I may, I didn't ask, or the reason I didn't redact those is because it is a certified document, so I didn't want to mess with the course certified documents. So if I may request that the items be covered by a protective order.
Absolutely. So we have two choices there. I can seal these documents and leave it at that, or I can seal these documents and you can submit a redacted copy that will be publicly available. I don't have a strong preference, but I know that prefers to provide more information rather than less to the public.
Understood, Your Honor. I can redact the documents and resubmit them.
Okay, so I will keep Exhibit 2 as is, and I'll make a note that Exhibit 2 will be subject to a protective order, and I believe the same issue for, I don't know if 4 applies, but I think 3 does. Yeah. Okay, so Exhibit. Sorry, I'm trying to get to Exhibit 4. So this is Exhibit 4, looks like a certified copy as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so I will create a protective order for Exhibits 2, 3, and 4, and then I will mark, when they come in, I will mark the redacted copies as 5, 6, and 7. Does that make sense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So, Ms. Wu, just a quick explanation. These are public documents, and to protect your personal identifying information, this particular document will be under seal and won't be released to the public on any request for such information. But Ms. Miller has agreed to submit redacted copies of these same documents, and we can talk about this later, but I'll leave the record open for a few days to allow that to happen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Exhibit 2 is admitted, and Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would also like to mark for identification and offer to evidence as Exhibit 3, the certified conviction documents relating to Riverside Superior Court case number BAM 1705534, and Exhibit 3 begins on page 35 of the exhibit and consists of 12 pages.
Thank you. Ms. Wu, do you have any objections to Exhibit 3?
No objections.
Exhibit 3 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And my last exhibit, I would like to mark for identification and offer into evidence as Exhibit 4, the certified conviction documents pertaining to Riverside Superior Court case number RIM 1906727, and Exhibit 4 begins on page 47 of the exhibit and consists of 12 pages.
Thank you. Ms. Wu, do you have any objections to this document?
No objections.
And for the record, I will mark the redacted again as 5, 6, and 7. Ms. Wu, once I receive those documents, do you have any objection to those redacted documents?
No objection.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Miller, did you want to give a statement?
Yes, please. The Court Reporters Board issued certified shorthand reporter license number 14027 to petitioner Valerie Wu on March 16th of 2015. The license expired on March 31st of 2018 and has not been renewed. The board filed accusation number 1718039 on March the 29th of 2018. The basis for the accusation was the following: that petitioner failed to produce a transcript from a deposition taken on December 15th of 2017. Employees from the court reporting agency where Ms. Wu had taken the job repeatedly inquired about the status of the transcript, but it was not produced. An enforcement analyst from the board contacted petitioner in mid-January of 2018 to obtain an update on the status of the transcript. Petitioner did not respond, and the board issued a citation with an order of abatement to produce the delinquent transcript, but it was not produced, and therefore an accusation was filed. Petitioner entered into a stipulated surrender agreement with the board, which was effective September 19th of 2018. She filed a petition for reinstatement, which was received by the board on September the 23rd of 2019. In her petition application, petitioner admitted to 2 convictions, one for elder abuse in 2018 and also the unlawful use of tear gas in 2019. And after receiving the petitioner's application, the board requested certified conviction records from the Superior Courts. Records relating to 3 convictions were produced. And I will just very briefly go through the bases for the conviction. First, on or about March 4th of 2019, in Riverside Superior Court case number SWM 1805529, petitioner was convicted of Penal Code Section 368, Subdivision C, infliction of pain or mental suffering on an elder or dependent adult. The circumstances underlying the conviction are that on or about November 21st of 2018, Riverside County Sheriffs reported to a report of a battery. The deputy sheriff spoke to victim JG, who stated that his daughter, petitioner, swung her fists and kicked him, resulting in bleeding, abrasions, and scratches to the victim. Was then arrested for elder abuse and ultimately sentenced to 30 days in custody with credit for time served and 22 remaining days to be served in a work release program, as well as paying fines and restitution. And petitioner was placed on summary probation for 36 months. As to the second conviction, on or about July 3rd, 2018, in Riverside Superior Court case number BAM 1705534, petitioner was convicted of Vehicle Code Section 23103, Subdivision A, reckless driving. The circumstances underlying the conviction are that on or about October 19th of 2017, petitioner was driving over 80 miles per hour in an area with a speed limit of 45 miles per hour. Petitioner was placed on summary probation for 36 months, ordered to pay fines and fees, and ordered not to drive without a valid license and insurance. And as to the final conviction, on or about August 29th of 2019, in Riverside Superior Court case number RIM 1906727, petitioner was convicted of Penal Code Section 22810, Subdivision G1, unlawful use of tear gas. The circumstances underlying the conviction are that on or about January 2nd of 2019, Riverside County Sheriff's deputies responded to a report of an assault at a gas station. Petitioner's car was disabled and parked at the gas station. The victim, a gas station employee, had asked petitioner to move her vehicle as it had been parked there for over an hour. Petitioner then sprayed the victim in the face with pepper spray. Petitioner was sentenced to 15 days in custody with 36 months of summary probation and ordered to pay fines and restitution. And that concludes the conviction information. And I would just like to add that the board has received a payment on May 19th of 2020 in the amount of $1,500 for payment of the citation fine. And that concludes my summary. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Wu, did you want to give a statement?
I don't think I would like to give a statement. Thank you.
Okay. The Attorney General and the board are going to potentially have some questions for you. So prior to that, I'm going to swear you in. Your questions, your answers will be given under oath.
Okay.
I realize I cannot see you, but this is the procedure. So please raise your right hand.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Ms. Miller, do you have questions for Ms. Wu?
Yes, Your Honor, I have a few questions.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Wu, are you currently employed?
I am not.
Okay. And so you have 3 convictions, 1 a couple months before you surrendered your license and 2 from after your license surrender was effective. What assurance can you provide to the board that you have been rehabilitated and will not engage in further criminal conduct?
Yes, I was struggling with mental health issues, and I have since sought treatment. I did a 52-week course in anger management. I'm about halfway through a course, 52-week domestic violence course, and I admitted myself into a hospital, and I haven't had any. Well, I was released, I believe, in February or March of 2019, and I haven't had any issues since.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned that you participated in domestic violence and anger management courses. Were those ordered by the court?
Yes, they were.
Okay. And in your petition application, you disclosed 2 convictions, the one for elder abuse and then also the unlawful use of the pepper spray. Is there a reason you did not disclose the reckless driving conviction?
I didn't know that that was relevant. It was totally an honest mistake. Yeah, I did not realize that it was relevant.
Okay, thank you. And my last question, so as part of your conviction for the elder abuse, you were ordered to do a 52-week domestic violence program. The minute order from that case states that you violated probation for term 6, which was the domestic violence program, and that your probation was revoked. What do you know what the status of your probation is currently?
Yeah, it's been reinstated. I went and put myself on calendar and saw a judge, and he reinstated probation and re-enrolled me in the classes.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. I will now open up questions to the board, and I will call on you one by one so we don't have talking over each other. And then at the end, I will ask for any additional questions. So if you think of something as we go, I'll circle back to you. So starting with Ms. Hurt, do you have questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. I just have 2 questions. The first being probably more a clarifying question. Did I hear that you submitted yourself to the hospital and was released in February 2020? And I'm curious, if so, why did you submit yourself to the hospital? For what reason?
Yes, I submitted myself and was released actually February or March of 2019.
Oh, okay.
And just for my mental health to, be observed by medical professionals and be on any medication that they thought would help me. And currently I'm not on any medication. I'm not having any issues. So that was the last time I had any problems.
Thank you. And the last time that you used your court reporting skills was at what date?
It was on or about December 15th of 2017.
Okay, and then my last question, is there anything not presented in the documents that you would like us to know?
I don't believe so.
All right, thank you. Those are all my questions, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hurt. Ms. Sunkes, any questions?
Yes, actually. Of the classes you mentioned you were ordered to do a 52-week anger management class. How many of those 52 classes have you completed?
I've completed the whole program.
Okay, and the same with DVRP?
With the DV classes, I have completed 28 out of 52.
And when were you ordered? Was that what you were reinstated to?
Yes.
And when was that reinstatement?
This was, I saw the court in March, and I reinstated within the actual group that does the classes like 3 weeks ago.
So you were reinstated in March of 2020.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sunkis. Ms. Lisinski, any questions?
Yes, I do. So Ms. Wu, how have you managed to maintain your skills as a court reporter?
You know, I have not been practicing or anything like that, but hopefully upon reinstatement of my license, you know, I would, you know, get practicing and make sure my skill is where it needs to be before I actually worked.
And so a part of the original complaint was that transcripts were not turned in. Could you address how you would move forward? Should you be reinstated with managing your workflow?
Of course. Those transcripts were eventually turned in. Of course, they were late. You know, like I said, I was, you know, experiencing some mental health issues, and you know, that's not really an excuse. It's still totally unacceptable. I never had any problems like that before. I was a pro tem in court full time, and you know, had a very large workload. But I mean, I definitely, you know, need to manage my time better, and you know, I don't know if that means writing everything down with due dates, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I do need to manage my time better, and I'm so disappointed in myself that this has even happened. And you know, I can assure you nothing like this would ever happen again. I mean, I've definitely, you know, been suffering not having a license.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further, Ms. Lisinski? Okay, Ms. Nutella?
Hi, just really quick questions. You know, Ms. Wu, it sounds like this has been very hard on you and absolutely an unfortunate, you know, moment in time for your mental health. And so I appreciate you did do the anger management classes, and I know 52 weeks, that's a lot of time, that's a lot of effort and a commitment. So I congratulate you on that accomplishment.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, the domestic violence classes, similarly a long journey as well. So please continue to do that. What tasks are you taking, or how are you basically ensuring that your mental health continues to be preserved? And also, do you have any current contact with Mr. Gosney, I think it is, the victim in your elder abuse case?
Yeah, he's actually my dad. We have very limited contact, but you know, we've repaired our relationship. So yeah, we have a little bit of contact, and as far as my mental health, my mom is very involved in my life, and you know, for someone, when I would have a psychotic break or a bipolar episode, I wouldn't see it myself. So, um, you know, my mom would be the one to say, okay, we got to do something different. I have a therapist who is very familiar with me, who I've seen for like 15 years. So I have, you know, people in my court per se who are watching out for me and there if I need the help.
That's good to know. And I think Ms. Lisinski asks really great questions about your ability to continue to sustain your license. So I think I am done with my questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. O'Neill? Any questions?
Yes, I had to unmute, but yes. Ms. Wu, I just wanted to follow up on one section about what steps have you taken to rehabilitate yourself, on the various issues presented here. Have you given any thought to what you might put into action as far as the transcripts that were late, other than I'll do better?
I mean, what happened is totally unacceptable, and I don't see myself ever letting something like that happen again, just because of where I am today. And I haven't worked as a court reporter for 2.5 years. I mean, I'll do better. That doesn't sound good at all. I mean, it's just totally unacceptable, and that would never happen again.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to just ask the board briefly if you have additional questions, and just ask you to unmute yourself and introduce yourself if you do.
I don't see any of the board members with their hands up or unmuting themselves, Your Honor.
Okay. And Ms. Miller, do you have any additional questions for Ms. Wu?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Wu, you submitted a letter, and I'd like to give you the opportunity at this point to introduce it if you would like to. It's a letter by Dr. Bertha Hale. Would you like to introduce this letter and offer it as evidence?
I would.
Okay. Go ahead.
Would you like me to read the letter into the record?
You don't need to read it into the record. It will be part of the record.
Okay.
It's identified right now as Exhibit A. Did you want to tell us who Dr. Hale is to you? And it looks like she's already said that she's known you for 2 years. So if you could just state what your relationship is and whether she knows of the circumstances that led to the revocation or the stipulated surrender, of your license.
Yes. Dr. Hale is one of the instructors for the anger management program. And she knows all about the suspension of my license. And I got back in contact with her a few weeks ago, requesting a letter that I could present to the board. So this is what she gave me.
Okay. Ms. Miller, any objections to the document identified as Exhibit A?
Your Honor, I actually haven't seen the letter, but based on what has been represented as to the content, I do not object.
Okay. So I'm inclined to admit this as administrative hearsay, which Ms. Wu just means that the contents of the letter is a statement that was given out of court. And because it didn't come up during the questioning, I just want to make sure Ms. Miller or the board does not have questions about the letter before we move on. And I will admit this as administrative hearsay at this time. So any questions about this letter from Ms. Wu?
No.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, so Exhibit A is admitted as administrative hearsay. And Ms. Wu, I want to make sure that I received everything. That was the only document I received from you. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, great. So as discussed at the beginning, we will leave the record open. Ms. Miller, how long would you like If I gave you till Monday, would that be long enough to submit redacted copies of the exhibits?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so the record will stay open until Monday, at which point, and when I receive them, those documents will be admitted. I will also be issuing a protective order on exhibits 2 through 4. With that, the record is open until, oh, I'm sorry, Tuesday. Monday is a holiday. The record is open until May 26th, at which time the record will close, the matter will be submitted. We are off the record for the hearing, and Ms. Hurt, I will turn it over to you to go into closed session.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. I just have one question for our staff attorney, Ms. Bonds. Are we permitted to take public comment on this petition?
Yes, it's a public item. You could theoretically ask for public comment.
Okay. I asked so because I see a hand raised. I'm not quite sure if it's in accordance with this agenda item.
All right, this is the moderator. I will open up the Q&A panel. The Q&A panel is now open. If you would like to enter or make a public comment, please click on the question mark within a square at the bottom middle of your computer screen and type, "I would like to make a public comment" in the ask field and send it to all panelists.
And if I can just remind those speakers that it must pertain to the petition for reinstatement of license Valerie Wu. Moderator, could you call the public comments, please?
Sure. At this moment, no one has submitted a public comment as yet.
Okay. All right. Then in that case, we will move into a recess of the general board meeting and go in a closed session. So this is agenda item number 3, closed session. And board members, you've been given a separate link, so you will need to log out of this one, and then we will go into closed session and have a further discussion. I see board member Nocello's hand raised. Do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I do see in the Q&A that there is public comment. Someone is trying to make a comment about this item.
So I'll turn back to our moderator. Do you see a public comment on this agenda item?
Hold on one moment. I just changed the host to our co-moderator in preparation for the closed session. So thank you. And I am going to the Q&A panel. Give me a moment. I do see a Heather Bautista that is wishing to make a public comment, so let me unmute Heather.
Hello, welcome, Ms. Bautista. Would you like to make a public comment on agenda item 2?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Madam Chair, first I wanted to say that I understand that this isn't a public forum, but I just have to tell you that intuitively it seems wholly inappropriate for these items and these matters to be discussed in a board meeting in a public forum. I also want to say that for this portion to be audio recorded when you've probably got, I would guess, 100 certified shorthand reporters online. I can't see the number of attendees, but it seems to be a slap in the face to the professionals that you are licensing and the public that the board is purporting to protect. I'd like to know if Ms. Wu was given the opportunity to request that the hearing be reported stenographically as this is being conducted to reinstate or not her certified shorthand reporter license. I want to know if she was advised that this was going to be public for all of her colleagues to hear. And the last thing I want to say is if Ms. Wu's license is not reinstated for whatever reason and she continues to work, how would the CRB have any standing to take any disciplinary action? Because the CRB has said that they are not able to take any disciplinary action against those who are not licensed reporters. And with that, those are my comments.
Thank you for your public comments. Moderator, the next public comment on this agenda item?
Yes, that would be Ann Leeds. Let me go and unmute her. Ann, you have been unmuted.
Hi, this is Ann Leeds. I am actually the court reporter that by the board to record Ms. Wu's hearing. I was never unmuted, so I couldn't talk. I did record, went on the record when Judge Rowan requested me to. I've worked with her before, and I went off the record when she said we were off the record.
Thank you very much. I'm glad we have that clarification for the public. I appreciate you submitting a public comment. Moderator, do we have another public comment on this matter?
Yes, we do. We have a Harry Poulter. Let me unmute Harry.
Welcome, Mr. Poulter.
Harry, you have been unmuted.
You can hear me then, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, Madam Chair, everybody else. I totally agree, and I'm sure a lot of my colleagues agree with what my colleague Heather Bautista said. I just had a comment now because I was going to say about the same thing that Heather said, but this person who said that she was recording, she's recording it, not recording it. So she's basically pushing a button when you went off the record and on the record. Is that it? I'm just curious.
Thank you for your question.
Or is it a stenographic recorder, or is it a recorder? I'm confused.
We'll clarify here towards the end. I'm writing down some of your specific questions. So thank you very much for your public comment. Is there anything else you'd like to speak to?
No, that'll do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Poulter.
All right, our next public comment is from Kimberly DeRusso. Let me find Kimberly. Kimberly, you've been unmuted.
Hi there. I actually was just trying to communicate that Charlotte Matthias was the one that was not able to be heard. And I echo Harry and Heather's comments and would like to know if it's a stenographic record being taken.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other public comments?
Madam Chair, I am currently scrolling through that area and will report back. I do not see any other public comments at this time.
Okay, thank you. So just a couple of comments. The individual who stated she was making a record of this hearing is a CSR. So she is a court reporter, and I believe making a stenographic record. So we have both. In particular to folks seeing this as inappropriate, this was actually a forum that Ms. Wu requested. So this was not placed on her, but one that was requested by her. I think I've addressed the general topics that were put forth. I will now turn to the rest of my board members and say it's agenda item number 3, closed session time. I'd like to recess. Yes.
This is Judge Rowan. Because there was a court reporter on the line, I need to ask her a couple of questions before she leaves.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Thank you. Your Honor, go ahead.
can the moderator unmute? I believe it was Ann Leitz who was speaking, who stenographically recorded.
Yes, that's me, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Leitz, I'm going to need your CSR number, an estimated page number, and the ending time. And if you would rather do that offline, we can do that. But if it's okay, I just need that information real quick.
Yes, absolutely. It's Ann Leitz, Leitz, CSR number 9149. Page estimate is 20 pages. And the time we went off the record was 9:47 a.m.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ms. Hurt, that's all I needed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then we're about to sign off, but I'm looking at my screen here. I just want to make sure we don't have any additional public comments before moving on to agenda item number 3.
This is the moderator. I had already closed the Q&A panel. Would you like me to open it back up?
If you don't mind.
No problem. One moment. All right, the Q&A panel has been opened back up.
Any additional public commenters?
We do have Charlotte Matthias, whom we have not heard from. Hold on and let me unmute Charlotte.
Me now?
Charlotte, you've been unmuted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, it's okay. It was on the last comment. I've been trying to get into that comment. It does not always come up. It comes up sometimes, and sometimes it does not. I just want to let you know there's no way for us to let you know when it's not working, or is there?
So your comment is on the last agenda item, meaning agenda item number 1?
It's okay. It's already been taken care of, so it's all right on that. But the point is, I will want to comment later. How can we contact you if it's not working?
This is the moderator. I will announce each time that it's being opened up, so we do not keep it open during the meeting. We open it up when public comment is called for.
I understand that. When you open it up and everybody else is getting into comment, I don't get that same look each time. Sometimes I've only gotten it once so far where you actually answered where I said I would like to comment. I've only been offered that once on my screen when everybody else is getting in. And there's no way for me to contact you to let you know it's not working.
Okay.
All right, thank you, moderator. You've heard the public's comment, and we'll see how we will address that as we move on to the next agenda item. Okay, I would like to recess this meeting for our closed session. It is 12:45. We're coming out of a closed session, which was agenda item number 3. Ms. Bonds, is there anything we need to report out besides that a board decision will be prepared by the ALG within the statutory requirements? Okay, Ms. Bond, is there anything additional?
Nope, just that we're back in open.
Okay, great, perfect. So I'm going to move on now to agenda item 4.1. This is the license certificate reciprocity. Ms. Finner, would you like to do the introduction to this item, please?
Madam Chair, would you like to reestablish a quorum?
Absolutely. Thank you for that suggestion. I think it's important to do so. I can see everybody, but let's please take roll call. Ms. Bruning.
Thank you. Ms. Hurt?
Present.
Ms. O'Neill?
Present.
Ms. Lisinski?
Present.
Ms. Nocella?
Present.
Ms. Sunkeys?
Present.
Thank you. Quorum reached.
Thank you. Ms. Finner, I believe we have some guests, and if you could please introduce this item.
So the board has received a request from the Texas Judicial Branch Certification Commission to consider establishing establishing licensing reciprocity for court reporters between the states. We do have the executive director of the Certification Commission here. I understand that Mr. Richardson will be doing an oral presentation for us.
Thank you, Ms. Finner. Welcome. Is it Mr. Jeff Renard and Mr. Steve Bresnan?
Yes.
Welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. This is Jeff Renard. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I believe we can. We welcome you to the Court Reporters Board, and we're looking forward to any presentation you have to present.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair and board members. I'd like to thank you for the time and granting us the opportunity to come to speak to you about this important agenda item number 4 about reciprocity with Texas and California. I'd like to start off first by introducing, I just want to give you a short briefing, but I'd like to start off first by introducing our colleagues from Texas here. We have our Deputy Director of Regulatory Services, Michelle Hendricks, and one of our general counsels, Scott Gibson, is on the line. And we also have, and you mentioned Mr. Bresnan from a representative of the Texas Court Reporters Association, and Lori Snorer, who's one of the current president of the Texas Court Reporters Association. So they were very instrumental in passing Senate Bill 891 last session. So we'd like to recognize them. What I want to do today is kind of just give you a brief overview of what we do at the JBCC within the Office of Court Administration, and then talk about what our advisory board and our stakeholders have been doing to address the shortage of court reporters in Texas, and then talk about reciprocity and answer any questions that you have so we can get that conversation started. To begin, the JBCC, we regulate court reporters and court reporting firms, guardians, process servers, and licensed court interpreters. We also register all the guardianships in the state of Texas and offer training in criminal history for those. So our population is about 47,000. For court reporters, we actually have currently 2,197 court reporters and 322 firms in Texas. So a couple years ago, we've recognized this shortage has been coming for several years. A couple years ago, we actively tried to address the shortage of court reporters in Texas, and we did that by engaging stakeholders in our advisory group. Our advisory board, we have a 9-member commission, and we have advisory groups for all of our professions. The Court Reporter Advisory Group is made up of 7 members. We have a district court judge's chair, and then we have an attorney, and the rest are freelancers or officials. Basically, we engaged the advisory board and stakeholders to come up with ways that we can address the shortage. And the first thing we did was we looked at with endorsement. Endorsement is basically where someone can come from another state, and if we feel, our board and our staff feels like the testing is substantially equivalent, then we would accept the endorsement and certify them in Texas. One of the things they have to do is take a written test and pass a criminal history. And so far, to date, in the past 4 years, we've offered endorsement and actually certified 25 of your professionals from California. So we are getting some people to come in. During the last session, what we did was we worked with the Court Reporters Association, of course, but they got Senate Bill 891 passed. And what 891 did was it created an apprentice license and a provisional, and then also requested that we actively engage with all the states around the country to figure out reciprocity. So what we did about a month ago when we sent out the notice, we wanted to engage, and what we did was we sent the notice out to 31 states. 19 states do not have a license or a certification, so we sent it out to 31 states. Illinois, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Tennessee are interested in reciprocity with Texas. Arkansas and California have both. Thank you for doing that. Put us on the agenda so we can speak. Kentucky and New Mexico are also interested in having a discussion. So we have some major interest in doing that, reaching out for reciprocity. And so what we want to do today is kind of just run that by you, what we think that would mean, and then answer your questions. And I know Steve probably has a few things to say. He was instrumental in passing that legislation last session, so he's an expert on what it says and what we're doing. So I honestly believe we have endorsement now, and we've never done that in the past up until just a couple of years ago when we did it with California. And having 25 new ones come in, I think is a good start. But we would like to open up. We know that there's a shortage throughout the country, including California. We'd like to open up the ability for reporters who are qualified. We vote where both states believe that they have a high standard, they're qualified, and they have the ability to work across state lines seamlessly. So where we could license or certify your court reporters in our state, and then our court reporters can go and work in California, and we can kind of help each other out. So that's really where we are right now, and what we're trying to do is just start the dialogue with your board and see the interest level, and maybe have the ability to do this in the future.
Okay.
And, I'll be happy to let Steve continue on if he had some stuff to add.
Thank you. Mr. Bredston?
Thank you very much. We really appreciate y'all's attention to this request. A little bit of background. I'm a lawyer lobbyist. I'm not a court reporter. I have a lot of experience in professional regulation and legislating in that area and rulemaking. And the Texas Court Reporters Association hired my law partner and wife, Amy Bresnan, and I to look at the Texas licensing laws and the profession and help them thread the needle. Our number one goal and our number one charge from TCRA is to keep standards high. And at the same time, to try to meet the needs of the market, both the market as represented by the courts and as represented by lawyers who need depositions and other court reporting services. And so we made some recommendations working closely with the TCRA membership. The legislature was looking for a solution to the shortage problem. They listened to us. The JBCC and the Texas Supreme Court were open to the recommendations, and we worked together to put a framework in place. That framework does not answer all the questions that will have to be answered as we implement these new laws. And we don't have all the answers for California. But I have reviewed your strategic plan for 2019 to 2023 and the Sunset Review Report for 2018 to 2019. And it's clear to me that Texas court reporters and California court reporters and the licensing agencies all are support and are committed to a high set of standards. And at the same time, we have a commonality of interests when it comes to meeting the needs of the legal system. And I see in those documents some discussion of reciprocity, some concerns about digital recording, and the very same kinds of issues that we're working to address here. We're very pleased that California has reached back to the outstretched hand from Texas because California is widely viewed, along with Texas, as the gold standard when it comes to producing highly qualified professionals to protect the integrity of the written word in the judicial system. And so we want to work with you all. Texas has opened its market to California licensees. And our written test, which is probably, I would assume, is about equivalent to your professional practice component of your test, is a requirement for obvious reasons. But California, the skill and expertise and experience that California court reporters have earned are things that would be attractive to the Texas market. At the same time, we have a highly professional, well-trained group of people here that would like to be able to provide services in the California market. And I think what we have in mind is on comparable grounds to what Texas is offering. What we don't want to see is the high standards of the court reporting profession to get watered down or eliminated by the entry into the market of people who are not don't follow the rules and can't be held accountable. And with respect to that, I'm referring primarily to digital recording, but not only. We're finding all kinds of people trying to come in and represent themselves as something they're not. And so we want to work with California to address that situation. I can't say how much we really appreciate y'all reaching back and discussing this. I think it's important for both states, and our states are the leaders in this regard. And I think if we can do something together, it could be a sign to the market and to the nation that court reporters will step up in a time of need and solve the problems that are real and pressing without tossing out the high standards that we all appreciate and expect. With that said, I think Jeff, if you're available, then I think we can ask. We'll answer what questions we can, and if we can't answer them, we'll get back. We'll get the answer and get back to you. I would say this: apparently, you have about 6,500 active and licensees in good standing. The Ducker report in 2013-2014 projected that California would need about 8,400 reporters today. The whole thing with the coronavirus and our courts having to work around it, and our court reporters and our lawyers, I think, is stretching everybody's imagination, if not their anxiety. And so we want to provide for the shortage in our two states, maintain high standards, but also most efficiently use the professionals that are available to serve both states. And again, we thank you for taking the time. I know you got a long meeting, so we appreciate it, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bresnan and Mr. Reinhard. So I will now turn to our board. Are there any questions for our two speakers here? If you could just use your raised hand function. Okay, I don't see any hands raised. I will ask a couple of questions. Have you heard of any barriers from your reporters in Texas of taking the current California license test at all today?
Madam Chair, this is Jeff Renard. I have not heard of any barriers at all for them to take the test in California, no.
Okay. And
Madam Chair, let me say this. I agree with Jeff. In my experience, I have not. I think what you have here in our new rules, if a California reporter has been actively engaged in reporting for 3 of the last 5 years, then they don't have to retake the skills test. They just have to take the test that would familiarize themselves with governance in Texas and any procedural rules that might be different from California. So can they take the skills test? Yes, if they've been working for 3 of the last 5 years, they should have a high level of skill. On the other hand, they would have proved themselves in a market with high standards. And we believe that we can get people into the marketplace faster if people aren't sitting down for another skills test. And that would be the essential difference if California were to accept Texas on the same basis as Texas has accepted California reporters.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that answer. I'll ask one additional question, which is, it sounded as if you put out a sweeping request across all the states for reciprocity. And I'm wondering if through your initial review, if you've determined any states that you feel are similarly high in their standards as California and Texas are.
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Jeff Renard again. We put out a list, but we've also developed our own list internally, and it was approved by the advisory board. We have 18 states that we believe that we could work with in different areas and that we would accept and that we could put out to have discussions with. And California was number one already because we had already approved you for endorsement. So we felt like that was, like Mr. Breslin mentioned, I think the standard is very high for both of those states, and we felt like eliminating that barrier of taking the skills test for each state would give the opportunity to flow more quickly into each state. But we do have 18. We have 18 states, ma'am, and I can get you that list. I don't know them off the top of my head.
Okay, I would appreciate that list because hypothetically, if we were to say yes to reciprocity, say yes to these 18 other states who are also able to get licensing in their own state, correct?
Well, Madam Chair, I think it's a little bit different. I think we wouldn't accept, like, if someone were to come from another state to California, we would probably not accept them unless they took the California test. And we wouldn't expect you to accept someone from us unless they took the Texas test. And I don't think our board members would want that. So they would have to have tested in Texas for you to accept them with reciprocity.
Thank you for that clarification. I'm now looking to see if there are any board member comments or questions for our speakers. I don't see any hands up. So are there any questions for our EO? And I don't see any questions either. So now I will take public comments on this item. If our moderator can please begin public comments for us.
All right, this is the moderator, and I have opened up the Q&A panel. If you would like to make a comment, please type, "I would like to make a comment" in the ask field and submit it to all panelists. Please note that if you raise your hand, we are not calling on you. We open the Q&A panel for you to submit your request to make a public comment. Please do not type your question. You will be unmuted in the order that you submit your request so that you may ask your question verbally.
Thank you for that explanation. And so if you could please call on the first public commenter.
All right. Pardon me while I scroll through the submissions, and our first one will be Mike Hensley. Give me a moment and I will let you know when I've unmuted Mike.
Okay, welcome Mike Hensley.
Mike, you've been unmuted.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Are you able to hear me adequately?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. My name is Mike Hensley, and I am the Vice President of California Court Reporters Association, CCRA, representing statewide the interest of all stenographic reporters, those that are licensed and those that are working towards licensure. I would like to express some concerns with the reciprocity issue that are coming from CCRA. And our first concern is that based on the presentation, there does not seem to be any barrier with the testing process. Therefore, CCRA would state its opinion that if a reporter is interested in working in California, if they agree that the standards are equally high, there should be no problem in coming to California and taking that test in order to work in the state. As an association that represents California reporters, those that are native residents, it's our interest that the jobs that are available to reporters in California are available to and covered by California reporters primarily. We also have concerns that there is an imbalance in this reciprocity trade. Based on facts and figures, it seems as though there's an imbalance in the resources available between the two states, especially considering the fact that California has shown great promise with its A to Z programs as facilitated by NCRA. We see on the horizon a large influx of new reporters that will be available in our state to assist with the perceived shortage. And thus, this could bolster numbers to make California well suited to cover its own needs. However, it appears that there's an imbalance and the risk that Californian reporters may need to be sent to another state. In line with that as well, we have concerns for the intent behind this reciprocity. Is the intent that reporters would relocate to the other state for coverage, or is their intent here to expand upon remote means for conducting deposition or court proceedings? If those questions can be addressed and answered, then perhaps our opinions might change. We're open to hearing information in those subjects. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hensley. Next public comment.
That would be Heather, and I will pull her up.
Welcome.
Heather Batista, you've been unmuted. You have
Thank
2
you very
minutes.
much. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Bresnan for your comments. I am also a licensed certified shorthand reporter for the great state of Texas. My license number in Texas, CSR 10725. I took the test February of 2018 and had to take the written test. I am in support of reciprocity. I believe that in order for me to even take the written test, the questions I had to answer, the paperwork I had to submit, the fact that I have no marks or no bad reports on my license, I appreciate the diligence that Texas took in order to make sure that I would be qualified to be a certified shorthand reporter in Texas as well. I had 2 questions or comments, things to be thought about. If a reporter such as myself is licensed in both states of California and Texas, which state's minimum transcript govern? Would it be where the reporter is physically located, say if there was a Texas venued case, or where the case is venued, or is it up to the reporter? And I also feel like a mentorship program should be set up, and I would be more than happy to be on the California mentorship program for any Texas reporters that were to come in. I haven't researched the fact of whether there's a mentorship program for Texas for California reporters who are newly Texas reporters to come in. So those are my questions. Those are my comments. I look forward to hearing any information on that. Thank you for your time.
Jeff, may I answer on behalf of TCRA? Or Madam Chair, is that a
Sure. You can speak now, just quickly, please. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. With regard to the remote issue, like I said, we don't have all the answers to that. We're doing a lot of remote in Texas right now to keep the court system going for the obvious reasons. It's working, but not without some problems. There's some gaps in procedures. TCRA members will be asked to opine on that in a group a little bit later in the year and to see, based on their experience, where they stand with that. I noted that your courts have encouraged remote proceedings in an emergency order recently. I'm not sure. I don't have enough information to know how that's going in California either. With regard to the applicable rules, I don't believe that the Texas Supreme Court could, which is the ultimate regulatory body for our court reporters, or the JBCC could exercise jurisdiction over a proceeding that was in a California court. So I would think, and Mr. Renard's the regulator, so he can opine. But as an attorney, I don't see how a case that's in California and reported in California could be judged by the Texas standards. But I think a reciprocity agreement between the states could specify that and answer a question like that. And there'll probably be others that will come up that we could imagine that could be answered in that way. Jeff, if I said anything wrong, correct me, will you?
I think if I'll also add to that, this is something that would have to go through the regulatory process. So it's something that we would have to flesh out, just as you said. There aren't all the details forward. There's a couple of questions that I could probably answer at the end of public comments that will relate to this idea of remote that I'll ask a little bit later. Let's see if we can get through the comments. Moderator, could you take the next public comment, please?
Sure, that would be Charlotte Matthias. Charlotte, you've been unmuted and you have 2 minutes.
Welcome, Charlotte.
Thank you very much. Thank you. My CSR number in California is 9792, and I'm also an RPR. I had reciprocity at one time with Oklahoma. They did not require me to take the skills portion as California's test was at a higher standard. I appreciated just having to study for their written knowledge section, and I believe that reciprocity would be good for both Texas and California. It's better than what's going on right now in California with all the digital and people pretending to be court reporters. So I would be very happy to have reciprocity. Right now, I'm sure there's enough work in both states for court reporters. That's about all I have to say on that subject. Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Resen.
Thank you, Ms. Matthias. Next public comment.
It looks like the other comments in the question area are just asking us to mute people who are not speaking.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for moderating the public comments. I'll bring it back now to the board. Undoubtedly, there are a lot of questions still, and this is definitely would be a monumental change. Ms. Finner, one of the questions that was posed, I think, gets to a question I asked you prior to this meeting that maybe we should put forward publicly, which is a licensee practicing in California. Is it not true that they have to physically be in California per California law?
So that is the expectation under the current law that we have here, yes. A lot of the questions that have been raised, as you pointed out, Madam Chair, the entire reciprocity question would involve regulatory changes for the state of California. And so a lot of those questions would be fleshed out during that regulations process.
Thank you. I do see a board member's hand up. Mrs. O'Neill, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. I just want to ask a question on, on the process or what is, envisioned as far as the final outcome. When I am, and this is probably not naive of me to ask this question, but what I see currently happening in the marketplace is that both California and Texas are extremely busy, have more work than they ever thought possible, throughout the whole career. So what I'm not quite understanding is the thought process of if we had the reciprocity. California reporters are busy, Texas reporters are busy. Where would we get the extra California reporters or the extra Texas reporters to come and work in the opposite state? I could see it if California had a lot of reporters and we weren't very busy, and Texas desperately needed reporters. That to me would seem logical, but I don't see a huge advantage at this point in time, just because everybody's so busy. Where
Okay.
geographically where they're working.
Okay. Would our guest speaker, Mr. Breslin or Mr. Renard, like to respond to the board question?
Sure, I'm happy to take a stab at it. There are, yes, reporters are busy, but they're not all busy all the time. And all we're trying to do is facilitate a broader market. At the same time, if there are shortages, there are opportunities. And so what we're trying to do is make more reporters available to each market. I also represent the Texas Trial Lawyers Association. And I know that Texas trial lawyers and California trial lawyers are moving around the country. And I think their relationships with court reporters could help each other in meeting the needs of both markets wherever they happen to be. So I understand, but what you're doing is describing a shortage and wondering, well, how, if we're all busy, how can we do more? And our experience is that not everybody's busy all the time at the same time. And to be honest about it, we don't know what the effects of reciprocity would ultimately be. We just know that there are two markets there, and there are some barriers. If the regulatory systems are virtually identical, there are some barriers to then there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to move, treat the market together. But that's an unanswered question. What the effect would be.
Okay. Thank you for that response. Are there any other board questions or? See, I don't see any hands up. So this is the time if board members would like to comment. Mrs. Board Member Lazinski, could you please start off our discussion?
Well, I have yet to hear a downside to having the reciprocity other than people feeling that the jobs should be held in California that are already here. But it sounds like we have plenty of work. So what would be the downside of having the reciprocity? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. O'Neill, you have your hand up. Would you like to make another comment?
Yes. And this has to do with back to, the effect of reciprocity coming on board. Now, I am making the assumption that when we're talking about this, we're talking licensee to licensee. If I remember correctly, Texas has some sort of firm registration. California has some sort of, firm registration. And if, let's say, for example, a California reporter goes to Texas and does some work, and then there's an issue, let's say for, having conversation that reporter doesn't produce the transcript or doesn't, submit or file the transcript in Texas like he or she should do, then would we have the Texas board filing a complaint against that California reporter under the Texas law, and vice versa with California? That's where I think it's a little, for me, it's a little bit of a gray area.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Board Member O'Neill. There's still a lot of questions, and if we were to decide to pursue or open up the discussion even further, there are a lot of questions and specifics that we would need to flesh out in regulations, and so that comment is well received. Ms. Sunkeys, Board Member Sunkeys.
Yes, excuse me. So if the issue of the remote reporting has been addressed, it sounds like, meaning that in order to report a California case, the reporter has to be in California. The CSR has to be in California. So that addresses the issue, I believe, that was brought up earlier by one member of the public.
Yes, Mr. Hensley.
Correct. And so unless somebody corrects me, I just see this as a way to make it easier for reporters to move from one state to another without having to jump through the hoops of retaking another skills test. They would simply be required to take the written knowledge part that pertains to the rules and regulations for the state they're going to. So I see that as an upside for court reporters in general.
So yes, and so some people have said, drawing from that, are we in belief that the skills test that Texas gives, which is the RPR, is entry level or high enough standard to actually do the job at hand? I see Board Member O'Neill's hand up. Would you like to comment?
Actually, no, I forgot to take my hand down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm sure that'll happen a few times, but I do see
Madam
Robin's
Chair.
hand up. Oh, yes. Is that
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Renard?
this is Steve Breslin. I don't mean to be rude. If I could see faces, I'd know if I was stepping out of line. I apologize. The Texas test is not the RPR. Texas has its own test, and under contract with the state, TCRA gives the test.
Could you define in greater detail the Texas test one more time for everyone, please?
Now we're about to get me out of over to the place where I don't know. But
is that where you throw the football to Mr. Renard?
Yes, ma'am. If you don't mind, I can tell you this: when we made the chart comparing states, Texas and California were either identical or nearly identical. We might even require a faster speed on one of the tests, but I'm doing that from memory, and I don't have the standard in front of me. Mr. Jeff or one of his associates may be able to do that.
Okay, and just to clarify, it's the RPR standard, not the RPR.
I understand. I've just been texted by a former president of TCRA that says the literary here is at 200 words per minute.
Okay.
We can get you this information though, so we don't take your meeting at. I'm sorry, the literary is at 180. She's just corrected herself.
Okay. Thank you for that additional information. Board Member Sunkeys.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that and I understand that Texas does their own test, but the standards are equivalent to the RPR. And I personally think the RPR is a sufficient entry-level test, skills test for licensees. And I do want to say, just as an aside, well, no, I won't even go off on a tangent. That's just my opinion. I think it's equivalent to what we're giving here in California. And in fact, the two voice for this test and the RPR both are 225, whereas ours are 200 words a minute.
Right, and then there's also the difference of how long one must be dictating at 225 words per minute versus our own at 200, which is what, 12 to 13 minutes versus 225 in 5 minutes. So there is some variations, but arguably they could be equivalent. Would Mrs. Board Member Nocella or Board Member Luzinski like to add any additional comments or thoughts?
I am supportive of this. Robin's comments were very helpful to me. I have no further questions.
Okay. Board Member Lazinski.
I also have no further questions. I think this is something we should move forward with. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the brief summary put before us is the board, has received the request. We're interested in opening up discussions to establish reciprocity with licensees. The staff has recommended that if the board decides to allow reciprocity with Texas, it should consider accepting the RPR as a standard for the skills portion of the California CSR. That's kind of the next step. But we're not there just yet. I tend to agree with the other board with regards to I haven't heard anything just yet that says absolutely not. I will say that I am concerned about how we proceed and that we do retain the high standards that we have created for the state of California in the production of very good licensees who are doing excellent jobs out in the workplace. So we definitely don't want to dilute that as well. A framework is going to be really important to put in place, and as been expressed earlier, that will happen through regulations. I asked the question, what has prevented Texas reporters from coming to take the California test? And I still wonder whether that's it's an issue or not. But I do appreciate the thought that if there's not that kind of barrier, there will be more people stepping up to report in California. So if I could then turn this to Ms. Finner. Ms. Finner, I think per the agenda item, thank you very much. Per the agenda item, there are different portions of agenda item 4. There's 4.1 and 4.2, but if we're still on 4.1, it appears as if we have the majority who would like to continue discussions with the Texas Judicial Branch certification. Do you have any recommendations on next steps after to work with Texas?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, was that a question for Jeff or me?
I'm sorry, I said Ms. Finner, and then you two can chime in too.
I beg your pardon. I think Jeff is muted. So if Mr. Renard could be unmuted, I will mute myself and stay out of it.
Sounds like a plan. Okay, Mr. Renard.
Yes, thank you, Steve. I would just, I'm open to whatever y'all want to do. We can get our advisory board and stakeholders involved, and we can start the discussion with a group of people from California, and we can just see where it goes from there.
Okay, and I see a board member, Sunkeys. Yes, you have a comment?
Yes, I wanted to comment in regard to your statement. I just want to throw out there, I've taken my RPR. I've been a CSR since I think 1990. I've passed my RMR, my RDR, my CRR. And I work every day in court. Well, not lately, right? But because of COVID. But so I report regularly. But I will tell you, if I never have to sit for another skills test, I will be thrilled. So it's not a matter of being afraid to go take another test. It's just so much goes into, there's so many factors that go into actually going in and sitting down, and the nerves and the anxiety of sitting in a skills test that it sounds like an easy thing, but like I said, I hopefully my certifications speak for themselves, but if we can guarantee we've got qualified, licensed, professional reporters, and it's just a matter of ease to get them to report in a different area, I say that's the best for the profession and it's the best for the consumer. So, thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Sunkeys. Are there any other questions or comments? I don't see any, so I will turn to our public comments moderator just to see if there are any last public comments.
Thank you. This is the moderator, and I will be opening up the Q&A panel. The Q&A panel is now open. If you do not see it, you can click on the question mark within a square at the bottom of your screen or on the 3 dots. And if you'd like to make a public comment, please go ahead and type, "I would like to make a public comment." So we do have a couple of comments. The first one is from Karen Guevara. So let me find her in our list and I will unmute her.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Welcome, Ms. Guevara.
Karen, yes, you've been unmuted.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I have a clarifying question regarding the question that Ms. Hurt asked Ms. Fenner early on in the discussion regarding California CSRs being residents of CSRs. Did I understand that correctly? And so just for the question in my mind was, if you're a California CSR living, for example, in Hawaii, you would not be able to remotely take a deposition in California? Is that what I understood? That's my question.
Thank you very much. I believe Ms. Finner heard your question. Let's see if she can respond. Thank you. Ms. Finner?
Under the emergency order, they would be able to take it remotely. Under existing, they would not. Under just the statutes that we have right now, but we're operating under an emergency order. And so the reporter does not have to be in the presence. And I would say if any other CSRs have questions specific to the practice like that, it would be better if they contact me directly offline, just to save time for the board.
Thank you. That's true. We do have board business to get to. This being part of it as well. Okay, any additional public comments?
Yes, our next one is from Lucy.
Welcome, Lucy.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Lucy Carrillo Grubbs. I am CSR 6766. I am an RMR, RPR, CRR certified, and I would support Texas. They have opened their state up to us. We should do the same to them. And it does matter because when we have clients who want to take their reporters on the same case, it matters. And it matters to the attorneys and their consumers. And I echo Miss Sunkiss. Robin, exactly. It would help the consumer if we would work with other states. Not all states, I get it, but if we work with Texas. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our
yes.
next one is from Cindy Greby. Hold on, and I will let you know when Cindy has been unmuted.
Welcome, Ms. Greby.
Cindy, you've been unmuted.
Oh, thank you. My name is Cindy Gebby, California CSR 10,691. I am unable to see how many attendees there are to this meeting. Can somebody please tell us how many people are attending?
This is the moderator, and that's correct. Attendees cannot see other attendees. That's the design of WebEx. But I can tell you that I've been monitoring that, and since this meeting has begun, we've had between 58 to 68 public attendees.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comments?
Yes, we have a few more. The next one is from Heather Bautista. So hold on and I will unmute Heather. I'll let you know when that has been done. Heather,
Welcome,
you've
Ms.
been muted.
Bautista.
Hi, thank you again. I'll be very quick. I agree. I can't remember which panel member stated that I haven't heard any downside to accepting this reciprocity. When I took my Texas CSR, I had no intent of taking a Texas case in any way remotely in California. I sat for my Texas test because we never know where life is going to take us, and especially in these times. But I sat for my Texas test for those times that I visit family or friends, and I'm in the state of Texas, and I want to be able to work, and I want to be able to do it the right way and the only way, legally. So again, I am in full support of the reciprocity. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, our next comment is from Charlotte Matthias. Hold on and I will unmute Charlotte. Charlotte, you've been unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Hello there. So I have two comments. I think it was Karen that brought up the question that Yvonne said she would like us to contact her on. If you can please post that somewhere. I think a number of us would be interested in the fact of, can a California CSR take a remote deposition, not just because of COVID, but in general? What code citing she is citing to that they cannot take it? So, for example, if I'm living in Maryland for 3 months, I cannot take a remote California job. I would just like to know what code she's referring to. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, I've done a whole lot of WebEx over the years, and I've always been able to see everybody present, even attendees. So I don't know why we cannot see the attendees today. I think it was the moderator, so that's how it's set up. But I've done these for years for depositions and other events, and I can see everybody. So if we have to do this in the future, can you please make it so that we can see who is at the meeting as though we were sitting in the meeting? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, that was an original request coming down from DCA. It takes up a lot of bandwidth, and because this was our first meeting, we were okay with doing the process this way. Let's keep going with the public comments, please.
All right. The next one is from Anna Costa. And Anna, you've been unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, welcome.
Thank you very much. So I am Anna Costa. I am retired CSR and RPR. Relinquished my license several years ago. I am also a core reporting advocate and a trainer of core reporting students. I want to thank the gentleman from Texas for their presentation. I think what you have said is powerful and timely and needed. Especially with regard to maintaining high standards in Texas. And I know that to be a fact because I know several Texas CSRs, and it is very difficult. With regard to that, I am a little bit confused about any downside to this. Ms. Hurt, you mentioned watering down. You're concerned about watering down, which was the words used by the gentleman from Texas, the lobbyist, with regard to allowing digital recorders to work in the state, not wanting that. Yet digital recorders are working in California. So when I'm done speaking, Ms. Hurt, I would like to know what your concern is about having the high standards of Texas recorders, already having them coming to work in California.
30
they are
seconds.
licensed. And I absolutely 100% agree with those who have spoken before, and Ms. Lozinski, not seeing a downside to this reciprocity. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
The next public comment?
That would be from Mike Hensey, and I'll let you know when I have unmuted him.
Welcome.
Mike, you've been unmuted.
Thank you. CCRA would like to reiterate the fact that there is potentially an imbalance here in that it seems as though it's making the process easier for California reporters to go to Texas. And one thing we should keep in mind is that there are significant differences in the cost of living and economies in those two states. So a potential downside is that reciprocity could open the doors to encourage current California reporters to leave the state for an environment that is perhaps more profitable or more economically manageable, and that could exacerbate any potential shortage that we currently are already facing here in California. So I would say that we are in support of the ideas, as previously stated, that if a reporter is interested in coming to work for the state, there is no barrier to them coming to our state and taking that exam, especially in consideration that California is in discussions for seeking ways to increase the number of tests that are being made available or opportunities to allow licensure for a greater number of reporters.
Thank you. Additional public comments?
Yes, our next public comment is from Irene Nakamura. Hold on, and I will let you know when she has been unmuted. Irene, you have been unmuted.
Welcome, Irene.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I have a question about, I've in the past have tried to talk to other reporters to become California reporters and come in to California and take the test and maybe even move here, but they are all dissuaded. They've told me they are afraid of our new law, AB5, that has come in to place in our state. And like if a Texas, so in this instance, if a Texas reporter is granted reciprocity and gets licensed in California and they come to work in California, are they subject to AB5? Do they have to incorporate and get a business license, or are they, taxes withheld, either one? I have a question about that. Like, how would that work? I get asked that when I try to encourage other reporters to come take the test in California.
Thank you for your public comment. Are there additional public comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm doing one last check. And that would be the end of public comments.
Thank you very much. So a couple of things. First, I think the concerns that I'm expressing is not for closing the door that we should not have reciprocity. I just want to be clear about that. I'm trying to vet this from all different directions. And in fact, this topic of reciprocity has been before the board several times. And all those times, there have been supportive moves to move forward, understand more, just flesh this out. As you see, there are a lot of questions, and these questions come out of the details, and I guess the devil is in the details. But what I'm hearing from the board is that we would like to move forward with this discussion of reciprocity. And what I'd like to hear from the board at this point is whether we would like to move forward in regulation, or do you all want to do more town hall review discussion? I need to hear from the board what is the pleasure of the board with moving forward on this topic. And I see Board Member O'Neill's hand up. If she could unmute. Yeah, go ahead, Board Member O'Neill.
Thank you. I am not ready to vote on this yet. I think that it's going a little bit fast. What I would really like to do is, or suggest, is maybe getting together some kind of ad hoc committee or some kind, something along that line to make sure that we have everything really fleshed out on how it looks versus we go ahead and say, yes, we're going to do this, and then trying to figure out how to make the thing work.
I agree. Yes.
So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Board Member O'Neill. Any other comments? Board Member Lazinski.
I would agree that we should have an interim step, and I would support the idea of having a study group or an ad hoc group to go into more detail and then come back to the board with a game plan, an idea how to move forward.
Okay. So I guess I should say to Texas, you can hear from all the board members that we are very much interested in continuing with this discussion of reciprocity. And as has been noted by yourself, that there's a framework in place, but definitely there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered and we still need to work out. And I'm not seeing any other hands raised amongst our board members. So I think it's an excellent idea to set up a committee to work with Texas on this reciprocity issue, fleshing out what that could look like for the benefit of California consumers. Would anybody like to make a motion to that effect? Thank you, Board Member Lazinski.
I move that our board create an ad hoc committee of board members to work with Texas on developing further the concept of reciprocity between our two states.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? I'm not seeing a second.
I'll second.
Oh, okay. So I do see a hand raised. That's Board Member O'Neill. Are you seconding? Miss O'Neill, if you'll unmute, is your hand raised for a second?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we've got the motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion amongst the board members on the topic?
Yes.
Okay, please.
As far as creating this committee, I would like to proceed in the sense of we haven't got to the point where we're going to say, yes, we're going to accept I can never pronounce that word right. Reciprocity. I would suggest that the committee be sort of a two-stage committee, have discussions about what it would mean for California, get everything, and have some of these questions that people are asking explored. And then if we get to the point where, okay, we figured out all this and how we could do this in California, and then the next step would be working with Texas and getting it all together going.
I think that's exactly the motion that Board Member Lazinski put on the floor and that you seconded. Oh. This is not a definite, this is going to happen. This is an ad hoc committee is being created amongst the board members to work with Texas to further flesh out what this reciprocity would look like. Are there any other board members that would like to speak? Okay, I don't see any hands, so then I'll move to, are there any other public comments on this?
Thank you, Co-Chair. I will open up the Q&A panel and we can see if anyone has any more questions. All right, the Q&A panel is now open. If you would like to make a public comment, please type, I would like to make a comment in the ask field and send it to all panelists. And I'm already seeing several responses. So I will start with Heather Bautista. Let me scroll up to her and I will unmute her. Heather, Moderator, you've been unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I won't be very long. I just wanted to ask if the meeting having any licensed certified shorthand reporters on this committee, I would be willing to be a part of this committee to discuss the reciprocity and the logistics of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment?
That would be Mike Hensley. I will let you know when I have unmuted Mike. Mike, you've been unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. CCRA also wishes to express an interest in being an active participant in any committee or study group that may be created if the board chooses to go in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hensley. Next public comment?
Our next one is from Lucy. Lucy, you've been unmuted.
I had heard that
I'm sorry, Lucy. You've been unmuted.
Okay. The issue I have heard is that if we open up California, then people, and Texas, people will leave to Texas. Well, Texas is already accepting us. So that's not true. And we would hurt ourselves by not doing reciprocity. It's ridiculous that we even need to, this could be just looked into. Go to Texas, talk to them, ask them questions. Reporters can do this. Thank you.
All right. Our next comment is from Jennifer Esquivel. Hold on, and I will let you know when Jennifer has been unmuted. Jennifer, you've been unmuted.
Hi, thank you very much. This is Jennifer Esquivel. I'm a certified licensed shorthand reporter for San Diego Superior Court. I just wanted to take this opportunity to encourage the Court Reporters Board to seriously consider this option. I know that we have had many reporters move to California successfully and come on board either as an official or a freelancer. I've also been very active in many associations, both CCRA and otherwise, and I'm currently on the executive board for our local 2-to-1 union. I know we can use the labor support, and I see that this would be a positive move in the right direction to encourage the stenographic field to continue. While I appreciate the A to Z program and the comments about it, I've been a participant myself with putting that program forward. I do think that we need to realize and accept the fact that it often takes quite a while for students who are entering a program to successfully complete it and move on to working and reporting in the field. Thank you.
And that was the last public comment.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second. We've had further discussion, further public comments. Could we please take roll call vote?
Thank you, Ms. Lisinski.
Yes.
Ms. Nocella.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Ms. O'Neill.
Yes.
Ms. Sunkeys.
Yes.
Ms. Hurt.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so we have established an ad hoc committee to work with Texas on the issue of reciprocity. Now we need members. So who would like to? Oh, and first, Ms. Finner.
So typically, Madam Chair, you would appoint a chairperson for the ad hoc committee. That ad hoc committee chair would pick their committee members. If the board has direction as far as industry or stakeholders, but that usually the makeup of the committee is the discretion of that committee chair.
Yes, I agree. Yes. So the chair, typically we have 2 board members on our ad hoc committee. And so are there any board members, and I would be leaning if I was in person with the CSRs on the board who'd like to lead us out on this topic. Board Member O'Neill, I see your hand up.
Yes, I'll volunteer to do that.
Excellent. Okay. And then do we have another volunteer? 2's the magic number. Am I wrong about that, Ms. Bennett? Oh, thank you. Is that Ms. Sunkeys?
Yes, I'd be glad to work with Ms. O'Neill.
Excellent. Okay. And as it's been expressed by the EO, our executive Officer, it is at the pleasure of the board members as to who they will bring on board. And of course, knowing these two board members, they will reach out to everyone to make an informed decision. So I expect that the associations will be a part of discussions as well as other licensees. Okay. That then, well, I want to thank Mr. Reinhardt, all of the Texas representatives for joining us. I do see a hand raised, and so I'll stop there for one moment and see what our EO would like to.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, to interrupt, but
No,
I
don't.
just wanted to let you know that if there are any members of our attendees that are interested in serving on that particular task force, if they could get their contact information to Paula Bruning at our office, then we can get that information to them.
Thank you. Okay. So again, thank you, folks from Texas, for coming to and making the presentation and speaking to us. I think this could be a promising partnership between the two states. We look forward to exploring this topic in further detail with all of you. And I, Ms. Finner, is there a comment? Oh, the hand went back down. And as someone who grew up in Texas, I kind of missed the accents and was reminded, yeah, I was a big Baylor Bear many years ago. So it was like a lifetime ago. So again, thank you all.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If I move on to agenda description 4.2, Ms. Finner, maybe you can help us with this. It's a discussion and possible action to grant CSR certification to holders of the RMR or CRR certifications on either a full or provisional basis. As I understand, you have to have an RPR in order to receive these. The recommended board action is if the board decides to pursue a change to the examination requirements for licensing, it should instruct staff to prepare regulatory language consistent with that board decision. Ms. Finner, would you like to give any staff report or further description on this agenda item?
Yes, since the board did not do the RPR discussion or have any change in our standards, at this point, this agenda item comes back to you for the third time for discussion and possible action on whether you want to grant CCRA's request for this particular reciprocity.
Thank you. Board Member Sunkeys.
I apologize. I didn't know where that discussion was going to fit in, the discussion in regard to the RPR, and I was just going to comment on agenda item 4.2 by saying, why not the RPR as the standard, as the testing standard, which is a good test of entry-level reporting. And a lot goes into that test, and I don't know how far you want me to go with it, but I can tell you that it's a good, just like I said, I don't need to repeat it. It's a good entry-level test. It's got the national NCRA uses a national company that oversees all their testing. And I can tell you that when I went back to school, well, now it's been a long time ago, in the early 2000s. And when I went to the college, I got 20-some credits for having my RPR because of the national standards that test meets. So I say, why I think I like the idea of 4.2, but for the fact I think it should be the RPR. And rather than 2 written tests, I think that we simply would need to test on the codes of rules governing reporters in the state. I don't. Because
okay, thank you.
I think the English and the medical and the legal terminology are all covered under the RPR.
Okay, thank you for your comments. In the 4.1 discussion, I kind of threw that out to the board when I asked about the RPR equivalent, that Texas exam, basically that's one of their components. And it sounded as if the board wanted to pursue just ever so carefully. So I think that's why the RPR discussion got dropped a little bit. It was just more the idea of reciprocity. So are there any other board member comments on 4.2? And I see Ms. Finner's, our EO's hand up, if you could, please.
I would think that if the board is going to consider reciprocity with Texas, Texas's skills portion is based on the RPR. It's that format, and that a fuller discussion would be had on if that's entry level. If we're not there with Texas yet, I would say we would not move forward on this item either, because all of it, if there is a change, all of it could be done in one set of regulations rather than doing 2 separate regulations packages.
Thank you. I agree with you. I was hoping that maybe we could just take a minute or two to talk about this a little bit, just to help inform the ad hoc committee where the board is this topic. As I don't see any other board members' hands up to talk about their thoughts on 4.2, we as a board will move forward with no action on this item. Okay. This takes us to agenda item 5, which is the review and approval of the November 15, 2019 meeting
Ms.
minutes.
Hertz?
Yeah, actually, I'm sorry. I just realized I didn't ask public comments on 4.2. Is that,
Thank you.
was that? Yes, thank you. Are there any public comments on 4.2?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the moderator, and I'm turning on the Q&A panel so we can check for that. So if you would like to make a public comment, please type "I would like to make a comment" in the Ask field in the Q&A panel in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. And we do have a few that would like to make a comment. So I will start with Mike Hensley. Mike, I will let you know when you have been unmuted.
Thank you, and I apologize to the public, getting ahead of myself a little bit here. Yes, I'm very interested to hear what you have to say, Mr. Hensley.
Mike, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you for the opportunity. I certainly appreciate it. Historically, when CCRA has entertained this discussion or brought this forward, there was an appearance that there was a discrepancy between the standard of the California CSR and the RPR. CCRA proposed this action with the understanding that the RMR and the CRR are unequivocally a higher standard than the RPR, and thus potentially a higher standard than California's own CSR. That being said, in light of discussion today on previous topics, recognizing that the board wishes to further flesh out reciprocity for Texas and possibly RPR considerations, CCRA is interested in continuing the discussion with the CRB and other stakeholders as interested to keep consideration for the RPR exam on the table. We feel that allowing the a national test for California reporters will provide greater opportunity for individuals within our state to have access to licensure, and therefore it would only benefit California and its residents, with a potential to increase the pool of reporters that are licensed and able to cover work within our state. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment.
Thank you. That would be Heather Bautista. Heather, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. Heather, you've been
Welcome, Ms.
unmuted.
Bautista.
Thank you very much. I'll make it quick again. I just feel like this is dovetailing into the discussion of reciprocity with Texas. I think the way the agenda item reads, it looks as almost as if somebody has an RMR or a CRR, that they would be granted California certification. I'm against that. I think that they should be required to take the written knowledge test just as is anticipated for the Texas reciprocity. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment.
That would be from Charlotte Matthias. Charlotte, I will let you know when you've been unmuted. Charlotte, you've been unmuted.
Thank you. So I have taken both the basic little RPR that seems to be entry level, or it has been stated that it's entry level. I'll tell you what, it's just a different test. There are parts of it that are more difficult than the 204 voice that California offers. You still have to do a 5-minute 225, and some people that is more difficult than 4 voice 200 words. The literary has always been my toughest thing, and that is at 180, I guess. So I think that the test at the RPR level is comparable to our 4 voice 200 words. It's just a different type of test, and I have taken both tests, and I think they should be put on the board's approval list. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our
Next
next
public comment.
That would be from Amy Altadonna. Amy, you've been unmuted.
Hi, my name is Amy Edwards Altadonna. I'm a California CSR number 13979, and I just wanted to throw my support behind accepting the CRR and the RMR, as they are very advanced certifications, and I think that we should be opening our doors to those that have those certifications and welcoming them and begging them to come and help us out when they have time. They are well prepared and equipped to do this job in California, and I think that mentorship could cover the few portions that they would need to learn in terms of formatting transcripts and our requirements. I don't think they need to be tested. I think they just need to be informed. Thank you.
Thank you for the public comments.
The next comment is from Lucy. Lucy, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. Lucy, you've been unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I will agree again with Heather Bautista. I got my RPR before my CSR. The CSR was harder, and we are having so much discussion about Texas, yet it's not a big deal to let the RPRs in and the RMRs. Texas knowledge, just like we have to do in Texas. It's only fair. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that was the last public comment.
Okay, thank you. So board, you've heard public comments. You've been informed more about how some public members are feeling with regards to the certifications and just the analysis thereof. I do see board member O'Neill's hand. Would you like to make a comment?
Yes, I would. Thank you. I think that the issues in 4.2 should also be discussed with that same committee that we just set up to talk about reciprocity, because I think there's tie-ins there. And then, which, however we come out with it, then we'd have it in a neat package rather than sort of, shotgun what we're doing. So that would be, I would make a motion for discussion's sake. I'd make a motion that the committee just established for the reciprocity with Texas also include the possible granting of the CSR certification to holders of the RMR or CRR or combination thereof.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? I see board member Sunkeys. Is that for seconding or is that for further discussion? Because we need a second before we have further discussion.
I would ask Ms. O'Neill to consider adding the RPR to her RMR and CRR.
Are you amenable? Ms. Board Member O'Neill? It's a suggested amendment to your motion, and if you could unmute yourself. Okay, I believe we can't hear you right now. If you could just repeat whether you're amenable to the amendment to your motion. Okay, well, we do have a motion on the table. We need a second. Do we have a second? Okay, thank you. Board Member Nocella?
I will second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and then Board Member Sunkeys made a friendly amendment to your motion. You guys are going to test my Robert rules here. Let's go with Board Member O'Neill.
Okay. Yes, I would accept the amendment to my motion.
Okay. And then Ms. Bond, with the accepted amendment, we don't need to go through a second again of the amendment, or do we?
My understanding off the top is that we do, so that but in the time we've spent asking, probably duplicative now, but yeah. And then of course asking for public comment before a vote.
Yes, yes. So procedurally then you are confirming that we do need to make a second on the amendment. And I see Board Member Sunkeys hand up. Would you?
I second the amended motion.
Thank you. Okay. So are there any further discussion? Okay, I see Board Member O'Neill's hand up.
I apologize for that. I'm taking my hand down.
Okay, I see Board Member Sunkey's hand up.
Yes, I just want to say that I also feel that we would have to test the written knowledge part having to do with the codes and regulations to be able to issue a California CSR. If it's the RPR.
I agree with you. That's important that they know the rules and regulations of our state. Yes, it's essential. And we haven't really gone into depth about it, but I would even say there may be folks who are thinking about whether individuals should have already practiced a year or so with these things, not just straight out of licensing. So those are all things that the ad hoc committee can think about. We have a motion, a second on the amended motion. There's been further discussion. Can we now turn to public comment?
Sure, Madam Chair. I will open up the Q&A panel. The Q&A panel is now open. If you would like to make a public comment, please type "I would like to make a public comment" in the Ask field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and send it to all panelists. If you do not see the Q&A panel, you can click on the question mark within a box at the lower bottom of your screen or the 3 dots.
Okay, do we have any public comments?
Francine Dias. So Francine, I will let you know when you have been unmuted.
Thank you. Welcome, Francine Dias.
Hi, thank you. I'm Francine Dice, and I am licensed in California, Texas, and Oklahoma. If you're going to open 4.2 to RPRs, maybe California should consider just making that your license exam, because most people are going to go through NCRA and take that test versus sitting for the California CSR board, and it would save you guys a whole lot of money. I can tell you that in each state I've done the written knowledge test, and I think it's extremely important that you maintain that, because each state has some different rules and regulations that it's really critical that the court reporter knows. And I think also if you're going to open 4.2 up to the RPR, it's really important that you consider that along with the Texas in your committee, because if you open it up to Texas, whose test is basically the same as the RPR, then you almost have to open it up to RPRs. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comments. Are there additional?
No, that was the only one.
Okay. So could we please, Ms. Bruning, take a roll call vote?
Thank you. Ms. Lisinski?
Yes.
Ms. Nocella?
Yes, sorry. Mute
Q.
button.
Ms. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Sunkeys?
Yes.
Ms. Hurt?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you all very much. Thank you for catching me on the public comments, and we are now back on task to agenda item 5, which is the review and approval of November 15, 2019 meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections by the board members? Okay, seeing none, would someone please make a motion?
This is
Okay. Yes, Ms. Lisinski.
I move to accept the minutes as presented.
Thank you. And can I have a second by a board member? Okay, I have a second by board member O'Neill. Any further discussion? Any public? Oh, nope. Okay, the hand got pulled down. Any public comments?
This is the moderator. I will open up the Q&A panel and we can check on that. All right, the Q&A panel is now open. If you would like to make a public comment, please type "I would like to make a public comment" in the Ask field and then send it to all panelists. If you do not see the Q&A panel, click on the question mark within the square in the lower bottom middle of your screen, or click on the 3 dots.
Okay, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Okay, so I'll move on then. Could you please do roll call vote?
Thank you. Ms. Lisinski?
Yes.
Ms. Nocella?
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Sunkeys?
Yes.
Ms. Hurt?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. There's been a request for a comfort break. I'd like to recess the meeting for 5 minutes. That brings us to, what is that, 2:24? This meeting is recessed for 5 minutes. Thank you.